Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my podcast series featuring thought leaders in the career and personal growth arena. You spend a significant portion of your life at work, so my goal is to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And I am delighted to welcome my very special guest to the show today, the one and only Jimmy Osmond. Jimmy, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you, my friend? Thanks for having me on.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I am eager to tell our listening audience all about you. Certainly, you are a household name to many, but we have a diverse global audience, so I want to tell them that Jimmy Osmond is the youngest member of the Osmond family, a multifaceted performer, singer, musician, producer, author, and entrepreneur. Jimmy, you do it all.
Or you can just say the caboose
You
of
do it
8
all.
boys and 1 girl.
You do it all. Absolutely.
Can you imagine the hand-me-downs?
Oh,
Quite
my
frankly,
goodness.
Marie's never did me any good, but we're okay.
And you are married to the lovely Michelle Larson since 1991, and you say that your most satisfying accomplishment has been raising your 4 children. What intrigues me, Jimmy, is that you started your entrepreneurial and performing career at the age of 3. So this year marks your 50th year in the entertainment business. And we're going to talk a lot about this today. After the passing of your mentor and friend, Andy Williams, you became the owner of the Andy Williams Performing Arts Center and Theater in Branson, Missouri, which hosts hundreds of shows. And I understand you're at the theater today doing that interview. But let's take a walk back in time, Jimmy. When did you start this entrepreneurial part of your career? And, you know, most of us know you as the singer, musician, entertainer, but there's an entrepreneurial element. So walk me through that.
Okay. Well, you know, when I started performing, I don't really even remember starting. My family were the featured act. Walt Disney discovered my brothers, and, they were regulars and the featured act on his shows and sang on his records and toured with him. And I just thought every kid did what I did, and I just wanted to be a part of it. And so I did. I started singing when I was 3, and we were on tour in Japan, of all places, with Pat Boone following, Andy as well. And the head of Sony said, "Wouldn't it be cool if your kid could sing in Japanese?" And so I was the first American to sing, child anyway, just to record and sing in Japanese. And I sang a song called Chichana Koibito, which means my little darling. And it was such a novelty that it became the first gold record in the Osmond name, which was, I love to rub into my brothers.
Yes, well
And
done.
it just started a whole bunch of interesting opportunities that, I endorsed soft drink commercials, and I would have my own, tours, and then I'd come back to America and join my family as just a little boy, doing these things. And later on in life, I never thought show business would last for me. I don't know why. I just, so I kept being open to opportunities that would come across, that we would come across, and I would try to find out what every job was, and try to develop these little skill sets that were in our field, in the entertainment business. And it really was a good opportunity to have so many opportunities by being part of a family like mine. And I ended up being a concert promoter, and till I produced 1,100 hours of network programming. And I've never been afraid to do anything, on stage or behind the scenes. And I think that's been our secret, is our openness to realize that you're not always going to be the flavor of the month, and especially in a business like show business.
Mm-hmm.
So you really need diversity in a field that you love, and to look at not just about being famous, but about having a career in the field you love. And I've done all kinds of things, from own commercial production companies to whatever. And now you mentioned, I'm back to what I love the most, which is, producing live shows. I produce about 400 shows a year, if you can believe it. I'm not in all of them, but it's great fun to lift people and to be a part of something that is bigger than you, that, you realize the audience is there to forget their troubles for a couple of hours. And
Right.
and leave positive, and that's a great thing to be a part of.
Well, what you do is transformative for the audience, and I'm so excited because I will have a chance to hear you live this summer. So looking
Yeah,
forward
for
to
the Moon
that.
River and Me show.
Yeah.
That's been a fun pet project. Before Andy Williams passed away, it was something that he wanted to see happen. It was, he has a treasure trove of footage and of the who's who of old Hollywood
Right.
that were on his shows, and you need that connectivity to really pull a show off like that. And I was there, with my brothers and my sister, and it's great fun to reminisce, sing those old classic songs, also share, our career and legacy grew out of Andy's, and so it's kind of fun to have that rapport with an audience that's watched you grow up in their living room. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
I do. I do. So tell me, Jimmy, being part of this iconic Osmond family probably came with a tremendous sense of responsibility. Was there a family work ethic that just permeated everything that you and your brothers and sister did?
Yeah, and I think that saved us too because my dad was an army sergeant
Yeah.
and my mom was a school teacher, so we had discipline, you know, we had real grounding, and I'm so grateful for that because there's so many pitfalls in everybody's lives, especially these days. But thank goodness we did this career together, and we were part of a team, and I think that's important to, especially when you look in the mirror too much, which people in the entertainment business seem to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an
You
occupational
realize that,
hazard.
wait a
Yeah.
minute, no, that you're part of something, and you have to pull your own weight, and you have to keep reinventing yourself, and you're doing it for something bigger than you, which is your family. And there's been disastrous situations in a lot of entertainment families that have seemed to lose the concept of the team spirit, and supportiveness of each other.
Right. So let's talk about reinvention because I think anyone who's in the biz, in the industry of entertainment for decades, has to do an occasional rebranding, right? And reinvention.
Constantly, yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us about that and how that process occurs with you.
Well, I think it's just been a natural thing, to survive in any business. Nobody cares what you did; they want to
Yeah.
know what you're going to do for them today.
Right. What's
And
next?
having a backstory is always nice, but sometimes that can be a liability. I mean, we went through times where, I had hits like Long Haired Lover from Liverpool, and Donnie had Puppy Love, and all these things, and you get branded, to being one thing. People want to pigeonhole you
Yeah.
into saying that's all you do, and it's a real trick to continue to come up with projects and package yourself in different things over the years. For me and my brothers, because I've managed the brothers for many years now. Anytime like I go back to Europe, I spend 4 or 5 months a year there,
Nice.
producing shows. Every time I go back, I never do the same show. It's either packaged with Jimmy Osmond's American Jukebox or Moon River and Me, or the Once in a Lifetime tour, whatever. Because you have to give your loyal fan base, I call them friends because they've stuck with us so many
Yeah.
years, something new every
Something
time.
fresh. Yeah.
And we've also had hit records that are everything from started in barbershop music to country music to rock and roll hits, and I think that's been our secret is to, continually, try new things. And I've done musical theater. I was in Chicago and Greece and doing, Joseph. I did Joseph before my brother Donnie did it, but it was musical theater's been a passion for me. And but yeah, you always have to do something new and stay loyal to the one that brought you to the dance, meaning the fan base and the people, the friends that have stuck with you so long. You have to be loyal to that, but always give them something new.
Would you agree too, as a singer, performer, that also keeps you fresh and in good vocal shape and just keeps you at your best?
Totally, and you never stop learning.
Right.
I mean, I know you're an opera star, and it's
Got to keep those chops
recently I did a
alive.
show. Well, not too
Yeah.
recently, but a little while back. I did one of those reality shows in England called Pop Star to Opera Star, and Catherine Jenkins and Alondro. They were all our mentors, and you constantly keep learning. I mean, I've been in the business 50 years, and every show I learn something new, and I think that's important to be open and to realize that you don't know it all and that you
Exactly.
need to be,
We are constantly learning.
yeah,
Absolutely.
constantly learning, yeah.
So
And
Jimmy,
good to people on the way up and down, because you know what? You've seen it. You meet the same people.
yes,
One person might be a roadie, and the next thing you know, he's the one or she's the one that's hiring you to be on the
yes,
show.
yes, absolutely. You must be gracious and treat everyone with
You
dignity and
really do.
respect. Absolutely. So let's transition a little bit. So many of our listeners around the globe, and it is an international audience, have heard of the Children's Miracle Network, but some have not. So would you share how that all began and how you were
Sure.
involved?
Well, initially, my brother started singing to raise money for hearing aids for my two older brothers, because my two older brothers were born deaf,
Hmm.
and so they would go around and sing songs, and people would give donations or whatever, and later on, my mother wanted to do something to help other families in a similar situation, so she started the Osmond Foundation, and it created a telethon at our television studios, and it grew to first of all, it was for the March of Dimes, and then the next thing we know, we used the relationships we had with all of the different television stations that had aired our variety shows and specials, and we put that telethon on and got sponsors involved, and it turned into the Children's Miracle Network, which was always a production of the Osmond Foundation, and that's grown to this day to have 170 hospitals. It's raised over
Wow.
$5 billion for kids, which is really amazing. And thanks to good sponsors and generous hearts.
Yes.
And one of those kids was my little girl. And I sit on the board still today, and I never really appreciated it until I needed a children's hospital.
Yeah.
And what was so amazing, I was in the ambulance, flying down the road, as fast as we could. And I looked at the very piece of equipment that was helping my daughter. And it had our little logo,
Oh
the
my
balloon,
goodness.
that you see at
Yes.
Walmart and Dairy Queen and everywhere. Um, and I just at that time, said a little thank you prayer because of
Yeah.
the foresight of my mom, having a generous heart and the right purpose in it all. And it's amazing. She would always say, "You can get a lot done if you don't care who gets the credit," and it's really true.
She's a wise
She
woman. Yeah.
she's blessed. Well, 17 million children a year are benefited by this charity that she started, and of course many others. My sister and so many people have gotten involved. John Schneider and you name it, and have really continued to make it one of the most powerful children's charities in the country, which is cool.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the power of Andy Williams. He was a mentor, he was a friend, he was a teacher, someone that really shaped your life and your career. And now the Andy Williams Performing Arts Center and Theater is yours. So you're running
Well,
it.
it'll always be Andy's, but
Okay.
I'm the guy
In
that cleans
spirit.
it up
Okay, you
and
got it.
pays the
You got
bills,
it.
I guess
So tell
you
me
could
about that.
say.
It's in your care. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did. Andy, before he died, he said he wanted to be remembered for his music, which of course everyone does.
Hmm.
Remember that. But he wanted to keep the tradition of the Andy Williams Christmas show alive, and it's been going since the '60s, and so that was a huge ask and responsibility. I had a theater here as well in Branson, middle part of the country, buckle of the Bible Belt.
Hmm.
People, 7-8 million tourists a year come here just to see shows.
Oh yeah.
And and so yeah, I took it on few years now, and it's done so well, and we now take it to Europe this year again, and start to tour it more. And but I think people want to forget their troubles. They want to remember an easier day, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really fun thing that happens when you're on stage and you're singing those songs that are so iconic, like It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, all those songs that we sang on. Um, and people are remembering their lives when they're here. And it's just a neat thing. And it's also Andy stood for so many things. He stood first and foremost for quality. He always surrounded himself with the best,
Yeah.
and and that's why he was the best, is because he was never afraid to reach out to whoever had was cutting edge in everything, in business and in his costuming and his musical arrangements. And that's a formula that we've lived by, is surround yourself with the best, and the best you'll have the best result. And hopefully I'm following the formula that he taught us for success, and the fast pacing that you have to
Right.
have in producing a show like his.
Well, and
And people love it.
you know how important that is too, because you understand what it's like to be in the audience. And I think as a performer, you have that unique insight about what an audience receives well, and that's crucial to the success of any endeavor.
Well, one of the things that I learned was, you really need to always be open, because a lot of entertainers, think when they've had success that that they know what the audience wants. But you really need to find out what's wrong with your show. You
Yeah,
really need to
you need to poke
beat it
holes.
up. And
Yes.
and owning theaters, you hear the front lines. Normally, an artist will go in, they'll get a guarantee, they'll just do their show, they'll leave. They're never on the front line selling the tickets. They're never on the front line marketing the show, finding out what's wrong with the show. What it
Yeah.
needs to do to continually be reworked and repackaged and presented properly. And so, having being the guy on the front line for my family for many years, and in this case Andy Williams Theater, I hear what's wrong with it. I see what needs to be done, and I take all that on board.
And you
And
make a
I
better show because of it.
You do.
Absolutely.
So many people don't want to hear what's wrong with them, or you know, um, when in actuality, that's the best thing you could do, is to find out the truth about how you're coming across.
Yeah. So, Jimmy, I think I know the answer to this as a fellow performer. I often say that singing is like oxygen for me, but you have so many things happening in your world on the entrepreneurial side, running the theaters, producing the shows, authoring books, which we're going to talk about soon. Why do you still perform?
I don't know. I think I won't perform if I didn't feel there was an audience that wanted me to do it. You know what I mean?
I
I
do.
don't ever want to force that. But I love, probably more than anything. And then you get a buzz out of anything that you work on, whether you're behind the scenes or in front of the camera. But getting that initial, immediate response to what you're doing or what you've produced with a live audience is so much fun. It's so challenging. I mean, we
Yes.
grew up performing on live television, so there were no
There were
mistakes,
no.
and it pushed you to be the best you could be. And
Yeah.
and when you're on stage and people respond to a song, or some interaction that you're having with them, it's just exciting. And I like people, I really do. And we've been blessed to perform all over the world, and it's such a challenge every time to go out there. And I take that responsibility so seriously, that people have paid hard money to come to see you, or your production that you've produced. And it really is a huge responsibility to make sure you deliver for them.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, as we end, tell us a little bit about your journey as an author, because that may be unexpected for some of our listeners. They may not know that you have authored books. So tell us about that.
Well, I'm not a big author, but I want to be. I want to learn and grow that way. One of my pet hobbies was cartooning, and
Ah,
I used to always. I had a cartoon strip in Japan once. It was short lived, but then I went and I used to design characters. I had a development deal with Warner Brothers, and none of my cartoons really saw the light of day. But a great it was a great experience to interact with a studio like that, and rub shoulders with people and become better at that. Anyway, my whole family have done autobiographies, because we've been around a long time, and everyone kept pushing me to do it. And I said, well, if I'm going to do something, I want to write a book about that benefits kids, because that's my
yeah.
passion, is raising my kids. And I see today there's a lot of people that these kids are growing up, and with a lack of self-esteem, and how and I'm like, so I wanted to tell my story in a way and use my illustrations and my character design to hopefully have a book that would inspire kids that they knew that God loved them as much as He loves anybody, and that if you stay and you work hard and you're disciplined in your life and you're passionate about what you want to do, there's great odds that you'll have success at it. And so I came up with this little book, told my story of a kid that didn't know where he fit in my family, if I really mattered, and tried to find out what I could do to be part of the team and part of the solution. And so I created this little book called The Awesome Possum Family Band, and it touches my heart when I hear people in schools, teachers that have said they've used it and that it really worked, and so I started, producing these things, and way back I had an advertising agency, so I love graphic design, and I've produced a lot of books and stuff for other people, but this one was my first one, and since then I've done some books on health and nutrition, and it's great fun to actually make something out of the air. Yes. And just turn it into a product that is valued by others. And I've really enjoyed it. Our mutual friend, Stacy Miller, she's a great friend, and she's really inspired me on how to become a publisher. It's so easy nowadays. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. But hey, I'd love for you to have one of those Awesome Possum Family Band books for fun, just because it's my story, but it's done in a way that hopefully isn't so much about me, but about helping other people, especially kids, know that you can do it.
Well, you are an absolute inspiration, Jimmy. What a joy to have you on the show. And speaking of the book and other ways to contact you, tell us how we can find you out in the social media world. I know you have an extraordinary website, and I'm sure people want to buy your book. So tell us how we can do that.
Well, you can always go to jimmyosmond.com, okay. Which is original, right? Or you can go for the shows, for the Moon River and Me show. You can go to andywilliamsshow.com or shows.com. And then if you want to come see the theater, it's the andywilliamspac.com, which stands for Performing Arts Center. And you can pretty well find us. If you just Google Osmond, you'll probably find us.
That's true.
But it's really been a blessing to be able to do what I love for so many years, and still have my family relationships intact with my brothers and my sister, and we've been so blessed, and it's really been amazing that we've lasted this long, and I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful for you reaching out and letting me be on your show, and we should have been talking about you and your career, because you've been a very accomplished opera singer, and now, of course, you touch many, many lives with your show and inspire people. So thank you for including me.
Well, you're so welcome, and a shout out to Stacy J. Miller, our dear friend, because she made the connection, and we are both so grateful. And I get to meet you in person very soon.
I know, I'm
because
excited.
I'm going to be in the audience.
Me some of your opera tips when I'm singing those old Andy Williams classic songs. All right.
Sounds good. Well, Jimmy, what a joy! I am so delighted that you could share your time and expertise with me and millions in our listening audience today. And I will see you in person very soon, but I thank you again for being with me today.
I look forward to it. Thank you, my friend.
Be well.
Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Your Working Life, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. Career and life satisfaction is possible, and it's time to embrace what you love doing so you can do more of it. My show is now available on iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, and Stitcher. Leave a comment because I always appreciate hearing from my listeners. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.